At the time of your sexual relationship with your professor, you identified as a straight man.
Sexuality is a big thing in our world. For most people, I'd say. I was raised in, my mom was Christian, and my father at the beginning, for most, until I was a couple of years before he died, he was an atheist or just didn't like religion, but he was very, very abusive, very authoritarian. He thought might was right, and you've got to be tough. My mom's religion. I love my mom, and so I love the religion, and I learned at an early age that if you commit these sins, you're going to go to hell, right, from the Bible. And my parents put my brother and I, we shared the same bed when we were young, and he was a couple of years older than me, and kids play. But I felt extremely guilty from like age 4 about what we were doing, and like, my God, I can't do that. I'm going to go to hell, and that plagued me throughout my childhood. And in my later teens, I was bullied at school, and people called me faggot and stuff. And I liked girls. I always fell in love with girls. I never had sexual feelings toward guys growing up. So I wanted to do everything that my father was against, and also what my mom's religion was against. And so that's what drove me to get into this sexual relationship with my professor, who was my key to success, key to ruling the world, becoming a recognized cellist, studying in Europe. And so I realized that if I give him something that he wants, he will give me that extra attention, make me into this star cellist. And so that's how it began.
So would you have classified that relationship as an abuse of power?
Yeah, for sure. He was 26 years older than me. And he was going through midlife crisis. He was in denial of his HIV. He did not tell me he was HIV positive until I asked him 2 years later, just before I found out I was HIV positive. He said, but I always used a condom. It couldn't be me. He thought I was having sex all the time. He just thought, if he's having sex with me, he must have had sex with a lot of other guys. I felt like I was being raped every time we had sex, which was 3 to 6 times a week for 2 years. I was because I had to keep the pretense with the professor. I had to because I knew that he was a bit unstable. He was a bit schizophrenic, schizotypical, and he had bipolar at that time. And he had all these issues. He was going through midlife crisis. He was extremely intelligent. And the only way I felt I could control anything in the situation was to lie. I lied to him. I lied to everybody except a close confidant of his. I told her that she was the only person I could tell. And she knew he had HIV. She didn't tell me. So I felt further betrayed when I found out I had HIV 2 years later. And I knew that if I didn't study with him, I'd be giving up my chances to study in Germany. But I was just, I was just so traumatized by the first semester, and that I couldn't take it anymore. I thought blowing up at him, modeling my dad, who blew up every day, multiple times every day, that somehow would fix the situation. And what he said was, well, I don't know, if you're not going to study with me, I'm going to have to tell your parents something, and I have to be honest. So, and then I was like, oh my God, he's going to tell my father that I had a sexual relationship with a professor. I was thinking at that time I was 18. And I said, oh my God, that would be the death of me. my father found out about the sexual relation with my professor, he would kill the professor and he would disown me, maybe even kill me.
Do you feel that because your father was quite abusive, that you sort of turned to your brother for comfort?
Yes, yeah, that's I remember as a kid, my brother, because my dad was very noisy when he was having sex with my mother.
You started almost mimicking that.
Yeah, we were mimicking our dad with our mother. We didn't ever hear a peep from my mom, so I guess I became the mom. My mom and my brother became the dad.
How did you reconcile and come to terms with your relationship as you became older? I mean, how's your relationship with your brother now?
It's fine. We never talk about it. You know, we're totally different people.
There's a lot of bravery in what you're sharing right now. And it seems like there's a lot of trauma too, right? Have you ever gone for any sort of help to get you through this?
I just briefly, and I didn't find it helpful. And, you know, my biggest help has been just walking in the park, just time heals all wounds, right? Just time, right? Introspection, figuring it out, having good support friends. I have a very supportive mom, you know, and supportive friends and supportive wife now. And yeah.
Timothy, does your wife know the extent of your history? Like, I'm sure, you know, a husband and wife share everything, but does she know everything?
No, I wouldn't say that. And I don't think she would understand it because she's from a different culture. So there's cultural barriers, and that in that sense, it's been good. Having that cultural separation has been a chance for it's like she loves me for who I am and I love her for who she is, and we respect her differences, right?
So were you intentional in pursuing someone from another culture then? Was that an intentional
since being HIV positive, I've been open to any woman who would take me. But with her, she was new to Canada in 2011. She comes from Swaziland, where they have the highest per capita of HIV in the world. We connected on a spiritual level. She found I was a good person. She was looking for a good person because from her culture, which is a collectivist culture, and she saw in me somebody who had a kind heart, and that was more important to her than me having HIV.
Do you ever feel the weight of sort of your past and your traumas? Do you ever feel the weight of that in your relationship?
Oh, no, pretty much the last few years, I feel like, you know, I've healed pretty much fully, like relative to where I was at, you know, in most of my life, especially since HIV.
But you never feel like you're being dishonest with your wife in any way, just by not maybe even disclosing some of those details?
I don't think some things don't need to be said. You know, like, you know, it's harmony. You have to balance everything you do in life, and sometimes things are better. Peace is more important than, you know, telling everybody every deal something that might trigger them and might destroy something, right? You never can get close enough to the light, you know? You always can get better, right? You always can heal more, you know? So relatively, I'm way better than I was even 10 years ago, you know, or even a year ago, right? So, you know, but do I have more room to grow, to heal? Yeah, of course. You know, I don't think it ever stops. And I'm a believer in multiple lifetimes. I think once after this form, maybe 100 years from now, maybe 2 years after I die, I'll be reborn again and, you know, have more work to do to become a better person, right?
What do you want for your children that you never had?
Just a loving family. Like my son, he has 2 loving parents who are with him all the time and, you know, are there for everything. You know, I'm willing to support him. My dad, you know, he was always grumbling about my mom always driving me around town, going to piano and cello lessons and spending all, he claimed it was his money, but it was actually mostly my mom's money. She made more money than my dad. And that spent on my lessons, right? Learning music is not cheap. And so, you know, I want to give everything to my son. You know, him being born has motivated me to step up to the plate and realize the person I want to be.
Now let's get to the heart of things, which is the series.
Mm-hmm.
Much of the story is rooted in gay narratives and examines the LGBTQ perspective.
Mm-hmm.
How do you make sure that the portrayal of homosexuality in the series doesn't become fashion?
Because the series is so much more. That's just one element. Another element is the exchange. My professor was African American, who grew up during the transition from segregation to desegregation in the American South. And so, you know, and I was a white boy from Vancouver, BC, or from BC, born in Kamloops, and most of my life in Vancouver, based around that. This new epiphany I had after I had HIV, I now identified more with the rest of the world. I was mind controlled by him, and you know, and my psyche was broken down by him, and very much the roles were reversed. And so that's what I like to and I realized after I tested positive for HIV that this story needs to come be heard. She made me aware of what it means to have white privilege. I did not know that. I fought it. You know, and I was horrible to her. And she was horrible to me because she was trying to make me love her. It was a very codependent relationship. And that's, you know, that's when what led to my nearly dying from AIDS. Because, you know, she was the only one that would help me with Southern Time, but we were fighting every night. I got to heal those demons and realize the white privilege that I have. Right? I took things for granted. I was misogynist. Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So all those traumas have made me who I am today. And I believe that the highest thing we can do in life is become a loving person. They become a more compassionate person, and like those intangible things are what matters in life. And so in that case, all those traumas help me learn. This and that, and then you start to identify with your labels. You start to divide people, us and them. I see people as people. It's like, I don't care if you're trans, I don't care if whatever, I don't care if you're any religion. It's like, I care about your character.
Why is it so important for you to try and convey the stance of oneness, of continual growth, of involvement in your art?
Because that's the highest form of art. It's all about love, right? If you focus on love, not fear, then things will heal, things will harmonize, they will get peace. You'll achieve peace, you'll get better.
You think of abuse and sexual exploitation, quite honestly, it's an exchange or an abuse of power between female and male.
Right.
What do you want people to know about that?
Well, it's throughout the series. Like the first season, it's the professor, older male abusing a younger. It's pederasty. It's really pederasty, which is not same as pedophilia, but it's like, older male having a power relationship with a younger male. Less assumptions, more compassion.